Happy New Year, everyone! It's Andrea, and welcome to a brand new year of setting up my 2019 bullet journal. All supplies I use will be listed in the description box below. I'm super excited to start a new year. Maybe this will be the year I finally start getting projects completed. Maybe. Hopefully. We'll see. Keeping with just a simple black and white theme, I started to outline my yearly 12-month calendar. Since last year I flipped back to this page quite often, I decided to put it on the left side. It actually took me quite a while to decide on the style I wanted to do my setup. I'd made myself sketches and mock-ups of all these pages and the different combinations of styles, so I could figure out the kind of style I wanted to use. This was also where I decided on which black felt to use. I really loved the speed at which the Tombow black felt filled in the pages, but the white Jelly Roll pen did not stand out enough on it, even when I went over it twice. I also tried to use my gouache paint, which covered wonderfully. It was just the blackest of black, and it didn't bleed through the pages. But because it is water reactivated, I would have to find a way to seal it. I was actually smudging it with my warm hands alone. I also decided on this cohesive hatched drop shadow. As for my font, I went with this elongated one. I believe this is the same font style I used last year during my setup, except this one is a little wider on one side. I wanted to add this fine line detail inside of each letter that was the opposite color of the letter. Does that make sense? Don't worry, you'll see it lots later on. I finally decided on using the Faber-Castel PITT Artist Pen in the brush and soft brush sizes. I really loved all the black and white. And as I started to plan out all the layouts, I found I wanted the black background more and more. And that was pretty much all there was to this style. Then I just reused all the pieces differently for every page. The only downside was it took so long to color in the background with the black felt. I know this super sped up video makes it look so fast, but it took a while. Also, I had to go over it twice to remove the streakiness of it. So if I don't show it, just assume that I did it. Then I went over any of my mistakes with the white Jelly Roll pen. I gotta say that I'm using this quite a lot lately. Next to that, I put my future log, and I only made one page. Last year I did 2 pages, which was 4 sides, and I didn't use them a lot. So I figured this year I would condense it down to just 1 page. But you could make yours as long as you like. Some of you might have school and need to fill in assignments, tests, and exams. In that case, you could put 2 months per page to maximize the amount of stuff written in for each month. But I'm not in school, and a smaller log was more practical for me. I kept this page white and put all the month titles inside boxes with the hatched drop shadow border. I also didn't redraw the small calendar for each month since I had the large version to the left of it. So on the left side I have January through to June, and on the right side I have July to December. This next page has been revamped from my old book. At the beginning of last year, I was constantly counting the boxes to get the correct spacing. So I made myself a little spacing guide that I could reference while designing the spreads. I went from dividing the page in half all the way to 7, and maybe a few more. I'm really only ever counting to 7 spaces because I'm always designing different water trackers, and it's been a lifesaver. The only problem I had was switching my journal. Even though it's still a Leuchtturm, I was disappointed that there was an extra square across. So my last one was 26 squares across and 39 squares down. This one is 27 squares across and still the 39 down. On the edge, I wrote 1 over the number of times it would divide. Beside that, I wrote how many spaces or boxes each one is, then at the end I wrote plus a number to let me know how many leftover spaces I have. So if there are 2 spaces left over, I could easily give each side 1 space to center it in the middle of the page. So I've decided to call these 2 pages my ultimate spacing guide. The centering of the grid in my new journal is more to the top, so the bottom has a larger border. I know these are all tiny things, but when you are a perfectionist, you get where I'm going with this. Anyway, after redesigning the spacing guide, I found that I could get better divisions with that one extra square, so I guess I'm happy with it. I even added numbers 1 to 10 on each side, and that is to take your header into consideration. You would use the numbers for how tall your title is and find whichever one fits the number of sections you need. For example, if I know my header is going to be 3 boxes tall, I take a piece of paper and cover the 3. Then I know my water tracker will be 5 even squares. And if my header is 4 squares, then I know my water tracker will be 4 squares with spaces in between. This also works on the opposite page when I have a meal section that is always 10 squares wide. So I just cover the 10, and now I can take the leftovers and divide that into 2, 3, 4, as many times as I want. Super simple, and it saves me the headache of having to count, mark, find out I didn't divide it right, then have to erase and start over. This way I can see the spacing right away. I loved tracking my social media all on one page last year, so why fix something that's not broken? I divided the page with the title at the top. Then I put the social media icons in the center. I tried to draw them in reverse, like being inverted. What I mean is they're going to be white on a black background. I divided the rest of the page into 12 equal parts going down and 4 equalish parts going across. Once I get my month's theme color picked out, I'll fill in the monthly box with it. This page is not something everyone will want or need, but I love having all my numbers on one page. I decided this year to make a video planner. I had somewhat of a project planner last year. It also had 52 weeks, but I thought I'd be able to make a video a week, which clearly I have not, and I'm sorry for that. Editing was taking me so long and I dreaded doing it. I've switched to a different editor, and so far it seems to be making my life easier. Of course, I'm still learning a new program, but the more I use it, the faster I'll get. At least that's what I'm hoping. Also, at the end of last year, I renovated a room to use as my craft and filming room. A lot of the reasons I never made more projects was that every time I needed to film, I'd have to clear up my dining room to have enough space to set up my lights, camera, and all the crafting supplies. With a designated room this year, I should be able to set up without having to tear down after every project. I can just close the door and walk away. I made little color-coded icons since each box has 8 squares across and 2 down. I have plenty of space to write the day number colored in with whichever icon I use. So the icons I have are edit, film, and upload. This also means I could use 2 icons per day if I need it. My bill tracker looks exactly like last year's. I divided the 2 pages so I'll have January to June on one side and July to December on the other. I added the months along the top in boxes with the hatched drop shadow. Then I put all my monthly bills along the side. Each box gives me plenty of space, and I also added an other box for any random one-time payments. Then I colored in the background. Let's skip forward since this is probably pretty boring. I labeled this page on the right side Bills and Large Expenses. And another thing to mention is the pages are not warping at all. They are still super straight. Also, if I didn't say before, all the black background pages get white page numbers written in the corners. These next pages I kept super plain because I'm going to fill them with books I'm going to read and movies I'm going to watch. I actually don't read that many books in a year, so I might just fill this with rectangles and color in the front covers for each book. For the movies, I will probably print out smaller versions and collage them to the pages, kind of like last year. I kept the next 2 pages empty since last year I watched quite a few shows. I thought a great addition this year would be to write down my top 5 favorite songs each month. I used to do this a long time ago, and I don't really know why I stopped. Actually, maybe next year, I'll do this for the movies as well. I put 6 months on each page, 3 on top and 3 on the bottom. I numbered each box 1 to 5. What kind of things do you like to track? Sometimes I want to track so many things, but I know the chances are I'll forget to fill them in or just grow tired of having to track any one thing for that long. So the top header part is on the white background and the bottom on the black background. After this got all colored in, I like how each month kind of resembles a clipboard. The next page I wanted to designate a spot at the beginning of the year for project ideas. I've kind of been adding them to the brain dump sections every month and always have to flip through to find them. This way, if I expand on any one idea, I can write the page number beside it if I go into more detail later in the book. The savings tracker was wonderful last year. It was really neat to see how much I saved and which months I saved it, since I color-coded it with each month's theme color. I would have saved so much more if I didn't need to buy new summer and winter tires. But I guess that's why I do it. So if an expense comes up, I don't have to put it on credit. I was surprised that I actually ran out of $100 sections. Never thought that would be a problem. So this year I'm making it into a graph. I made my top amount $4,000. From seeing last year, I should be able to manage that total this year. What do you save for every year? A vacation, some fancy new electronics, clothes, shoes? Lastly is to add the index and the key. My other journal had 3 pages for the index, and this one only has 2, so I divided each page down the middle. I will probably still have to add another page since I had to last year. Then I flipped to the very front to add the key. I kept the key the same as last year. A circle is a task, have filled in is started, filled in is completed, crossed out is cancelled, arrow back is rescheduled, arrow forward is migrated, a star is important, triangle for an event, dot for a note, and a square for my work hours. Well, that about sums it up for another year of setting up my bullet journal. Thanks for sticking it out to the end. This video may have inspired you to start your very own bullet journal. As you can tell, you don't always need a lot of colors to make things pretty. All you really need is a pen and a blank notebook. If you try any of the spreads I have created, please tag me on Instagram at Amazing-Andrea1. That's with underscores. I would love to see your recreations. If you don't want to miss next month's setup, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.